Miss Dotty Reynolds Yadao of Garden Island Party Essentials. She's our Kauai designer. Dotty, there you are. Hi.
There she is, Dotty. It's great to see you.
Nice to see you both.
Yeah, you do a lot of, you quietly work very hard at doing beautiful weddings and events and home decor for all your wonderful customers. And I got to peek a little bit at what you do, where you do it, and how you do it. You're just like a one-woman show. Like you really do a lot, so much on your own, with a little bit of help. And so we really got to experience how you see and how you do. And of course, we noticed too that you do get a lot of product right there from the island. You are very good at working with a lot of local grown Kauai products. So I think we have a little bit of a journey in the video that we'll be showing. So tell us a little bit about how important it is for you, Dotty, to work with the Kauai grown product.
Well, out here in the middle of the Pacific, any of the flowers, the temperates, they don't grow. Well, there's a few farms that are trying to grow it now, but Kauai is pretty warm, as compared to the Big Island, Hilo. They have cooler temperatures. So anything I bring in, a freight charge is something that you really have to consider because it can sometimes double the cost of the flower. So I like to use a lot of island grown if I can. Of course, I bring in from Hilo. And then, the minimum number of stuff that I have to import will keep my price in the affordable range for the people that I work with. So that's probably my primary concern. And tropicals are so beautiful. There's so many colors, there's so many shapes. Now that people are a little more educated about it, 10 years ago, if I put a monstera at the back of a bouquet, I would have heard, "What are you doing? Those are stuff grown in the wild. Why are you putting that in my bouquet? I want leather leaf and I want baby's breath." And now the baby's breath customer is rare. And everybody, "Oh, yeah, make sure, even if it's an all rose bouquet, I want a monstera leaf at the back," So it's evolving,
So basically, in your video that will roll right now is going to highlight what happens, what goes on in Kauai on the growing side, in the ag extension side, and then you as a florist at the end, designing with those beautiful flowers. So should we watch your video now?
Yeah.
I think we should.
So I want to see it.
Aloha and welcome to the Garden Island of Kauai. My name is Johnny Gordinas. My wife Teresa and I have been growing, raising, and designing tropical flowers for over 30 years now. And we just love what you're doing. People talk about food, but remember, flowers feed your soul. I'm going to take you into the packing shed today and show you what we've harvested already. We're going to go on a tour, so I will be hosting you through the entire tour of our farm today. We hope you enjoy it. Our next stop will be at the Kauai Agriculture Research Station, where we will be visiting Dr. James Keach and take a look at the specimens and the botanicals that are being researched on and grown at the University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture. So that'll be really interesting. After that, we're going to take you out to Kilauea to meet Miss Dotty Reynolds Yadao. You will be able to see some wonderful wedding arrangements that Dotty has created for us today. Enjoy your tour and enjoy your time with us, and thank you so much for being here with us today. First of all, let's go take a little walk over to the packing shed so we can see what we've harvested today. This is a torch ginger. The name of it is Howard Yamamoto. Uncle Howard was the one that hybridized this ginger, this torch ginger. So as you can see, there's different phases of it being fully opened to a tighter picture. And this one's kind of starting to open, as well as this one. A ginger, it's a pink ginger, and it grows in full sun, not like the Eileen McDonald's, which is another pink ginger also. It's called a Tomi ginger, and it can grow in full sun, and it has a nice deep pink color. It doesn't have that kind of lighter pink like the Eileen McDonald. It's called a Tomi, T-O-M-I, Alpinia family, ginger family. I usually take these florets out because they don't always, they won't last. So designing and everything, we always take the little florets out. And this is different than this, as you can obviously see. This is a Kimi ginger, K-I-M-I. It's in the ginger family, and it also grows in full sun. This tub here is where our post-harvest area. Everything that comes out of the field goes right into this gigantic tub, and we treat everything with Dawn soap. So they go into the tub, like along with these other flowers, okay? Everything has to be meticulously washed and bug-free in order for us to ship to the mainland. They're all bug-free. Then we have our red gingers, Alpinia purpurata, which grows all year round. That's one good thing about this Alpinia purpurata. Pretty much everything else grows all year round. The orthotrichas on and off. The costas grow all year round. And here's a sample of our foliage pack that we put in all our gift baskets. Areca palm leaves, Dracaena leaves, anti-lou colored teas, and this variegated lauhala. And this foliage here, it's called Luca, okay? And this was hybridized by the University of Hawaii, the Luca. Over here we have beautiful anthuriums called Tropic Fire. See, doesn't it kind of look like a flame? So that's kind of what we have over here. And we sleeve up all our tropicals before we ship them. They're all sleeved up just to protect the flower from any damaging and anything like that. Then right over here, we have the lime green shakers. These pretty much grow all year round too. It's a lime green shaker, or it's also called a Calathea. It's in the Calathea family. Kind of looks like a rattlesnake tail, right? This is a bromeliad. My wife uses these in her arrangements, the small arrangements that we sell at the farmer's market also. We use a lot of these for fillers. Here's more eucalyptus. And these are more Song of Indias. And the Luca. Areca palm leaves. That's about it for now. And here, these are boxes ready to be shipped out to the mainland. We use Federal Express to ship our boxes. We can get flowers fresh from our farm to your door in 2 business days, anywhere in the continental United States. So now, please join me on a tour of Tropical Flowers Express Tropical Flower Farm. We've seen the finished product in the packing shed. Now you get to see how they're harvested and exactly where the flowers come from, beginning to end. Come on. Remember seeing all the Song of Indias, the pleomelies that we looked at in the shed? This is what it looks like growing out in the open. It's a nice big bush. These are 2 different varieties actually. You see the difference where the white is on the outside of the leaf, and this one has yellow on the outside of the leaf. Right in front of me are the croton plants that we also use in our flower arranging. What we have here in front of me is called a Lauai. L-A-U apostrophe E, Lauai. It has many uses. It can be used in flower arrangements. You can lay these on your tables for your big wedding celebration day to kind of sit nicely with a flower arrangement in it. Let me just say one thing. If we can't use what we grow on our farm, we don't plant it. Everything has a use here. Keep coming, there's so much more to look at today. I'm walking over to the red ginger, Alpinia purpurata, and it's a flower that grows all year round, and it's very long lasting, and it comes in different colors. But right now, we're going to look at the red ginger here. We'll look at the costus, the French kiss. There's a big old field right below on the other side of this. You can see all this entire field here below is all costus or French kiss. Actually, our farm is in a good place that it's slopey like this because tropical flowers like lots of water, but they don't like to be in a swamp. So the topography of our property gives good drainage. So here we have our French kiss right here. You see the little feather again, and I told you earlier about it. So if I'm going to ship this or put it in a flower arrangement, what I do is I cut all the outside leaves off. That's why your sickle or whatever you use has to be really nice and sharp so you can just go whip right through it. You see that? So what you see in the field isn't necessarily what you're going to see in a gift box or a tropical flower arrangement. So right now I'm on my way down the hill to take a look at the beehive or the Zingiber spectabilis. Normally, when you see this flower, it has already been cut. I'm not going to cut this one today, but this is what it grows, looks like when it's out in the field. Zingiber spectabilis. And actually, if you see the moistness of it, all that dripping out there, it has a scent of ginger to it. Here's two large specimens of the Zingiber spectabilis. You see that? This would make a great focal point for a large hotel centerpiece in a hotel. This big flower, it'd be a nice accent. And this is the true flower right here. But it is self-determinate and it does not need to be pollinated to bloom. This is our Kimi ginger that we looked at earlier in the packing shed. And again, all the leaves are cut. And we cut them all the way down because remember we can always make a stem shorter, but not longer. There's a sample right there. Just now we looked at the Zingiber spectabilis, the beehive, and we looked at the smaller type of Kimi gingers, which has a lot of uses. And it comes in different sizes also. The next place that we're going is we're going to go take a look at orthotricha flowers, and we're going to go look at the green shakers, which is right down below here. Now we're walking down to the lower part of the farm. Now you saw earlier the heliconias, the orthotrichas, and those grow in clumps out in the field. And then it ends up looking pretty spectacular right here. Heliconia orthotricha. Here's a picture of that green shaker that we saw processed in the packing shed. And look how tall they get. And this is the actual flowers, the green shakers, Calathea, growing out in our field. I'm really happy that you were able to join us on a tour of Tropical Flowers Express on the island of Kauai. Next, we're going to go visit Dr. James Keach up at the Kauai Agricultural Research Station up in Wailua Homesteads.
Hey, Johnny. Good to see you.
Hey, this is Dr. James Keach, the Extension Agent for Ornamentals, Nursery, Master Gardeners for the Kauai branch of the College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources. Good morning, sir.
Good to see you, Johnny.
You too.
Yeah, and I know you've worked here for years before you started your own business, but I thought I'd show folks some of the work that we do here with tropical flowers and raising them. And I'll show you what we have in the fields, but I also wanted to point out we're always trying to bring in new things and test them out. So these are a few I got recently on a buying trip to Big Island. Some different foliage plants, colocasia and alpinia, and then also looking into some of the ornamental turmerics as well.
Is this an alpinia?
It's an alpinia.
I can tell by the shape of the leaves and the structure. Does it flower?
I haven't been able to find flowers on it. I want to stick it in the ground and see if it'll produce them then.
Okay.
But I think the foliage is pretty exciting. That's what I'd like to do is, bring in some new materials from different places within the state, but also across the world, and then see how they do in the ground here. But like you're saying, kind of then do vase life trials. Is this something that you can cut and keep for a few days, or is this something where cut and kind of just have it for the day?
You might even test it out in a water tube.
Yeah, that would be fun.
This Olena, I've never seen this one before. It's like a little miniature Olena.
Yeah, so there's two main types of the Olena or turmeric that we see in flowers. Some of them have these longer, kind of almost like ginger-like flowers. And then there's other ones that have, I think they call them the lollipop types, where they sort of stick up a little bit.
Is that Curcuma domestica, or it's a curcuma, right?
It's a curcuma, and there's a few different species, and some of them are even hybrids between the species. I have another one that's like this, but it's a dark, dark purple, and it flowers a lot earlier than some of the other ones, so we get a good season on them.
This is another one is that the same as that or different? It looks different.
Different.
Because that has white on the top.
And this I actually just bought at an orchid show this past weekend.
Nice.
There's a lot of them coming in from Thailand, and there's also a few that have been in cultivation for a while. Dr. Richard Criley, who had done a lot of the research at the university, was telling me that one thing that we've come up against is folks don't like the short stems, but if you grow them in shade, you get something that has a little bit of a longer stem, and that's easier for a florist to work with.
You can always make them shorter.
Yeah, so we figure we'll try growing them in the field and then grow them in the shade and play around with them.
This is really nice, too.
And they dry down well, too, and have a little bit of a ginger fragrance, which
is really
fun.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Shall we go check out the field right over here?
Yeah, let's take a quick look.
All right. Yeah, my friend here, Dr. Keach, is also the advisor for the Hawaii Tropical Flowers and Foliage Association on the island of Kauai. We appreciate him very much.
Although I feel I sometimes learn a lot more from you all. You just have so many years of experience with this. It's a great kind of legacy, I think, of all the local industries and things that different folks have worked on, brought into the state, tried out. We really have some stuff that's really unique to here, and I'm so glad we get to highlight it. So a lot of these were brought in by former faculty members, and they went on collecting trips in Central and South America, trying to find something new, something that looked new, but also that might grow better under local conditions. On our island, there's sometimes a fungus that can affect some of the more fragile plants. And so it's a real good trial by fire to kind of put things in the ground, see what does well.
Like the cylindrocladium.
Cylindrocladium, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we're mostly looking, we put them in to see how they do. And, I've been surprised. Some things they'll shoot right out of the ground. Other things they kind of sit there and languish. But then after that, we want to see, how's the flower look? Is it something that folks are interested in? I've done some casual surveys at a few of the different HFNA events, trying to see which aesthetics sort of speak to people. And it's been pretty clear, there's some real winners and then there's some other ones that folks just don't have an interest in. So it's kind of fun for us, and it also helps us set priorities since we're perpetually strapped for labor and, resources. But yeah. And actually, this is out of a project like that.
This is new.
This is new. This was a project that was installed in Maui called import replacement. So things that we import into here for flower production or for foliage, and seeing if we can grow them in the state instead. This is Grevillea red hooks. And we had 2 from her. We had this red hooks, and then we also have one over here called Moonlight. And Moonlight was amazing. Even in a 1-gallon pot, it was already flowering. Yeah, I see if I can bring down some more. The foliage is a little more silvery, but the flowers are kind of this great shape. One thing that's sort of a mixed blessing, I guess, is it's also been producing seed pods. And I think they have really nice shape. But we want to keep an eye on them just to make sure it doesn't become another invasive. You know, the joke is Hawaii is the native plant capital of the world, but also the invasive plant capital of the world.
Field on the left, and on the bottom part was completely full.
And I think we can start up here, but then it goes down for a ways there if we want to. Yeah, this is the eucalyptus trial. So, and I thought there's quite a few things up here we can kind of take a quick look at. The eucalyptus in Hawaii, traditionally we've imported it from other areas, but they found out that eucalyptus and other plants in that family can actually carry a fungus that's really dangerous for some of the native species here. And so just a year or 2 ago, the local Department of Agriculture banned the import of eucalyptus and other cut leaves from that family. And you know, brides been clamoring for eucalyptus, and so we thought, how can we create a local eucalyptus industry? We have 3 different species growing up here. See how they do. So we've been starting seeds of these so we can give them away to farmers. But we're hoping that eventually we might not be able to meet all the demand, but slowly scale up so that we can do eucalyptus production in the state instead. So this is all kind of older plantings of flowers that were put in the station decades and decades ago. And right now, you know, we just don't have a lot of folks working here to maintain them. We're trying to keep them going, and also kind of like the other plants I showed earlier, trying to see which ones folks are most interested in. So this is one, and this is they call it the paper custis. The flowers last, you know, really short periods of time. They're big and white and sort of papery. And unlike other custis, it doesn't have the kind of bright bracts, but it does have this kind of nice dry material once it sort of dries out a little bit. A huge, huge plant. I mean, it's just amazing how tall these are. Oh, and I was mentioning before that Eskimo Kiss is the other one that has kind of a red head. This is another one that we have growing up here, and folks seem to really like. I've seen this used in landscaping as well. And again, the young flowers are edible, and then the bracts have kind of this nice red touch, and it's a little bit more manageable in terms of something you can stick in, just smaller bits in an arrangement. And this is one, you know, that traditionally was a huge mainstay of the local industry. And it's a real kind of poster child for why we need to invest in research on flowers. This one, folks were using it all the time. Costas, you read any documentation, one of the first things they say is costas don't get disease. You know, they're completely disease-free. And just a few years ago, we started finding a disease on this costas that will actually cause the flowers to turn brown. So far, we've only documented it on our island, but we're really concerned that this could be spreading. And, you know, the other thing is it doesn't always show up. So you can cut a flower, ship it, looks all right, and then when it arrives, the flowers turn brown, and no one wants that.
I'm a living testimony to that. I had probably close to half an acre of this Costus barbados, and Dr. Keach was instrumental and advising and an advisory to me, and he came over and we took samples, and that's how we found out what it was. So they took it to the lab, and we were aware that this Costus barbados has a bad disease. So the point that I'm trying to make is from grower to researcher, there's a relationship. There's definitely a wonderful relationship between the grower and the researcher and the breeder also.
And that's the thing, I try to all keep the conversations going so we can get ahead of problems. We're actually working with the USDA now to try to look into, you know, what is this disease and what are some solutions we can kind of use
wonderful.
on it.
That's
They
good
came out,
news.
Took samples. Yeah, but hopefully we'll be able to get it on the market again soon. I think while we're over here, we'll take
The Cheetos.
the Cheeto plant. This one from this field was the one that was most popular in the survey, you know, again, kind of by far. And this is unfortunately a really small example. It's a little bit past the season, but it's again, these kind of neon orange bracts. And because they're not true flowers, because they're kind of waxy like this, they last a lot longer.
What's the botanical name? Do you remember?
Stromanthus. I can't remember the species, but Stromanthi is the genus.
I call them Cheetos.
And that's what all of the folks who work here call them too. And as they get going, they get to be really big. This is about a medium-sized one, but they keep branching out, and the color will be really intense when they're younger.
And it's also a very aggressive grower.
Yeah.
It spreads really fast.
We've mowed it down a few times, and it'll come up completely from the roots.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, while we're here too, there's kind of two of them growing together.
The green one?
Yeah, this is another one. They think it's a calathea, and I haven't been able to find an idea for this one either.
It might be in the Neotropica book.
I looked in there, and I also looked in a few other commercial growers. The only thing they can say is it's from Peru.
Oh.
And again, Dr. Kiley, our expert, sent pictures of it to some of the other experts in the world. And they said they have an idea of what it might be, but so far, no idea.
Positive.
So again, something kind of unique that we're lucky enough to be able to grow here.
We hope that you enjoyed the tour of the University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture, Kauai Research Station. They have such a vast collection of flowers and foliage over here. It's been an amazing afternoon. And at this time, I would like to thank Dr. James Keach, who has been so instrumental in our industry. He's been such a great help and a relationship that we want to fan that flame of.
I feel really lucky to work with you, Johnny, and to work with all these other incredible, curators and growers and designers. I just think there's so much potential and so many incredible plants here that just haven't had their stories told. So thank you for coming, visiting, and getting to poke around with some of them with me.
We've enjoyed it so much. Our next stop is going to be to Moloa'a, and we are going to visit with our Kauai designer, Miss Dotty Reynolds Yadao. So we'll see you at Dotty's location in just a little bit.
And I'll bid you aloha and a hui ho.
Okay, awesome. Well, hello there, young lady. How are you today?
Warm.
Warm, I know. It looks like you've been working so hard. This is my good friend, Miss Dotty Reynolds Yadao. She is our Kauai designer, and we are here in Moloa'a Beach on the island of Kauai, going towards the north shore of the island, just for a little bit of info. So it's great to see you, Dotty. Can you just tell us a little bit about your mechanics and what you're doing here with this beautiful arrangement today? Our guests would just love to hear how you put this all together and what is what as far as varieties.
Well, today I did oasis cages because I needed to be speed and I needed a solid bottom. These arrangements are going to be mounted on tiki torch frames, so I need to have a solid bottom so it doesn't crush. Generally, these destination weddings happen right around sunset. I thought it would be nice to bring in some sunset colors. So the bromeliads that I chose were the shades of orange, yellow phalaenopsis, and then the palm. I'm not sure what kind of palm that is, but it's the inflorescence at the phase right when the berries, the nuts are starting to form. Past times, they would have had the tiki torch and they would have had flames leading to the exit. So that was part of the theory too, is to have them kind of look flamey. And then because the bamboo looked so teeny underneath the flowers, I got some passion fruit vines and wrapped them around. And Oh, these are also set in oasis cages for structure. And they're floating on like a third of a sheet of styrofoam to give it the buoyancy. I tried to kind of do colors that would contrast nicely against the swimming pool color. You know, we've got different kinds of centers. The white king protea, this beautiful pink and white bromeliad, and we've got those beautiful red and green obakis. Again, I used probably brighter than most people would consider wedding colors, but like I say, if you're gonna come to Hawaii, use Hawaii flowers.
Wow, what amazing designs you made today, Dotty. And actually, today's my wedding anniversary. So it's perfect because just with the wrong girl. Anyway, it doesn't get much better than this. You've got beautiful Moloa Bay and the ocean right in our background. Just the sound of the ocean just gives me thrills. So we want to thank you again, Dotty, for your beautiful arrangements today. And let's do this again. Okay? Thank you. So you have a wonderful day, and aloha from the Garden Island of Kauai. We have a couple questions from the chat. The question is, what are the pink leafy gingers called? I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're referring to the pink torch, which is called the Howard Yamamoto torch ginger.
So asking the experts here, both you and James, what is the actual botanical name for the torch ginger, please?
Is it Nikolai Latior? Maybe?
Yeah, I think so. It's a Latior, and I always get the, or Etlingera? Putting us on the spot here, Hitomi. I have to look it up. No.
I'm sorry. I just thought that this was a great opportunity to hear from you guys about that.
Etlingera.
One thing I will say is that it's closely related actually with some of the other ones we see, like the Rose of Siam, some of these other plants. And there's even some talk about maybe hybrids that can be made between them. So, always something fun to try out, see if we can create something new.
And what I really loved about with this video and to be able to visit the farm and the Ag Center is that, so often in our nursery tour, we don't get to see the actual tropicals growing so much. So that's what makes it really great there on Kauai. There's lots of beautiful tropicals growing. So thank you for sharing with us all those varieties that you shared. So, Johnny, so is there another question there?
Well, I just wanted to clarify something. It is an Etlingera. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's so confusing that there's so many names. It's just swirling in my mind, so I had to ask.
Okay, the next question from the chat is, how long can you float an arrangement for? Dotty?
Forever. The styrofoam does not get waterlogged. And so I always make sure to attach a leash line. In this case, I use monofilament because it'll float out to the middle of the pool and you're gonna have to jump in and get it, or pull the monofilament back and then you can get it to the edge of the pool. But styrofoam, this is the white crispy one, it does not absorb water. So that's great. You know, you can just take the Oasis piece off, store your styrofoam, and ready for the next time.
Terrific. The next question is, how do we contact UH Kauai Extension? And their phone number is 808-245-4717. Is that correct, James?
It's 245-3471.
Thank you. 808-245-3471. And our secretary will most likely answer unless she's out for the day. And you should get a answer from one of our extension agents over there. They do a phenomenal job. They're such great partners, the extension agents and the University of Hawaii. So thank you so much for just being there for us.
And if you end up on the island of Kauai and want to visit us, we're located in the State Building. We have offices there, and we're open during normal business hours. And we sort of bounce between there and the field, but we're always happy to try to answer some questions. That's what we're there for.
And they're upstairs on the second floor, first office
Correct.
on the right.
Yes.
There's signage. Okay, another question from the chat. Will the torch ginger, and I'm pretty sure they're referring to that Yamamoto torch, continue to open as a cut flower? In my experiences, they'll open a little bit more, but usually they'll stay in that stage, close to that stage once you harvest them. Have you had any different experiences as the designer, Dotty, or even Hitomi, with using the pink torch? Have they continued to open for you?
They do open. I've used them in bridal bouquets, and if I do it the day before and I take that bud form that you showed, the petals pop. So 2 to 3 of the petals will pop overnight. And if you've got it in an arrangement, they last a week, 2 weeks. And they continue to pop open. So it just leaves the little cone in the center at the very end when it starts to dry.
Okay, thank you.
But
I
yes.
think I think those torch are so spectacular. I have to say that it's best enjoyed in Hawaii. In shipping, it sometimes damages slightly, and I see the most pristine ones out in the field and cut freshly in Hawaii. So I'm gonna. If I were doing weddings and I wanted to recommend, because it's so luminescent, it's just such a beautiful quality of softness of color that I would highly recommend it. It's an opportunity to experience its beauty when you're on the Hawaiian Islands. I mean, I just think that's how it should be enjoyed. So beautiful.
Well, there's a little trick to those also. If you get the flower, the outer petals are going to be most prone to drying first and also to getting bruised. So what I do is you have a really sharp florist knife and you gently cut right around the base of the plant at the top of that petal, and you can just peel back the petal, you've got a fresh flower again. So
Good advice. Good advice for people receiving them in the shipment, that you can discard those and allow the rest of it to develop.
yeah.
And the
Yeah,
torches
that's great.
come in red as well as pink and white. And there's ones with sometimes different tones. There's even, I don't see it in cultivation as much, but there's one that'll stay sort of closed and has almost a tulip-like appearance, but much
Oh my
larger.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was really intrigued with your Cheetos and your other beautiful, that green kind of almost like
Like a little
it didn't even
pom-pom?
look like a tropical. Like it was amazing. You said that its origin was in Peru and that it's not absolutely determine what the name of it is just yet. But you mentioned that you shared it with, a group of people at the HFNA meetings. I just think that you need to include some of us designers in that meeting and not just amongst you growers, because those are absolutely intriguing. And we would love to see some of that come our way and for us to play with and see how it works out in design. So how is that possible?
I'd be happy to bring some to any event where we overlap. And I can check about shipping some too. We aren't certified as the research station, but I'd be happy to work with local growers and get them out to folks to test. And I think the timing works out each year pretty well with the wedding celebration. So maybe next year I can pack a whole suitcase of them and bring them over.
That would be awesome. It's kind of like, like the new introduction kind of thing. I mean, that would be really welcome. Every designer is looking for something exciting and new. And I know that one set that those two green stems with those heads on top, I mean, those are spectacular. They're amazing. So I'm sure there's already people that's just kind of really excited to see if that's going to ever come out for us to use. So thank you for sharing that with us.
My pleasure. And I don't know if I mentioned it during the video, but they actually have a really long stem too. So for larger structural things, the stem is up to 5 feet. Which
oh my gosh.
is a lot to work with, but you can kind of cut it accordingly. So yeah, it's a really amazing plant. I'll definitely work on getting some more out there.
I mean, it has a likeness of something like those big fritillaria that's orange and it has flowers, but it looks similar in the way its attitude. And so, especially when it has that strong straight stem, it could be just a very special flower to use. So thank you for sharing that with us. Those are the things that we're always looking for. Like, oh my gosh, I want some of those. I hope that the designers out there will agree with me on that one. Yeah. So any other questions there, Johnny? Because I have a few.
Oh, go ahead. Go right ahead. I'm
Okay, so I have a couple of questions for Dotty to do with some of the weddings that she does on the island. I know that there's probably people in the audience here who are like her and like myself when I have my retail business as well, limited resources in employees and everything. And I usually took sort of size of weddings that seemed to work for me and couldn't handle anything beyond a certain. And I know with Dotty, she does linen and she does some installation structures and all that kind of stuff as well. And she works really hard at it. So I'm going to ask her, what is her sort of preferred size of wedding that she likes to take? Because I think, there's a lot of people out there just like her.
My average wedding is probably 30 to 40 people. And sometimes I get the whole thing. So the setup at the site is a wedding arbor, a bamboo arbor, or a heavier wood arbor, 1 or 2 pieces of florals on it, some draping with chiffon, chair setup, and then after the wedding is done, I will, if I have the reception also, the tablecloths are there and I do centerpieces. And generally what I will do is I'll offer to the bride that I can take the floral pieces off the arbor and then we can bring it up to the reception area and that becomes a buffet piece or on the sweetheart table, depending on, maybe the smaller piece would be the centerpiece for the sweetheart table. Big piece can frame the cake table. So, I try to reutilize something so saves them money. And also it's not such a waste in my mind that you do this beautiful thing and it's 45 minutes use and dump it, I'd rather it goes to the party with the group. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you do a fine job. And, watching you work there on that site and, us just kind of helping her, at the end, setting up, Colin and I got to help you float those floaters away into the pool, and really saw the vision that you created for a bride to be. That she has this incredible wedding on a certain budget. I thought you did a fantastic job with that one. I had asked about with this beach property that, is it possible to go out and put these tiki torches out on the beach itself? And you said, can you tell us what you said? What happens there on the beaches on some of these islands?
The state law now is no installation on the beach. So that means we couldn't do the tiki torches right on the sand. Currently, I understand that they will allow floral circles. So the ones that I do, because I want to be able to pick it up quickly, is I do a foliage lei, like a vili lei. It's a 6-foot diameter circle usually. And then I will place flowers in along the lei. And then when I'm ready to pick it up, I can just pop out the flowers and pick up the way quickly. But like we can't put arbors on the beach, can't put, they're not even supposed to have chairs.
Yeah, that's great to know, because I think with a lot, potentially some bride-to-be destination brides kind of might be watching something like this, and it's just all things that you need to know when you're planning your big event. So thank you so much, Dotty. You did a fantastic job. Thank you, James. I mean, it was just awesome to be able to visit the Ag Station with you as a guide, and Johnny, again, for showing us what tropical flower farms looks like and what before harvesting and packing and all of that back end stuff that we all need to know to understand what goes on in our industry from front end to back end. Thank you so much, Dotty. Thank you, everyone.
I have a couple more questions, Tommy.
Oh, you do?
Okay, yeah, they just came in on the chat. The question is, how do you prevent invasive species when importing new plants? And that's an excellent question. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that anytime plants are imported to the state of Hawaii, they need to go to the Department of Agriculture for inspection to make sure that there's no diseases or insects or bugs. I think that's the hurdle that they have to go through in order to get here. Is that right, James? Pretty much?
Yeah, that is. For live plants, for sure. For seeds, you're supposed to declare them. Not everyone does. And there's a list of plants that are banned from entry into the state that if they find, they'll get rid of them and might even give you a fine. There's also a website that we use called plantpono.org. That's PONO. And that has a lot of information about the weed risk of different species. And there's actually a person employed that their whole job is determining whether a plant might become invasive or not. And so we can kind of make educated decisions that way, because we want to do the right thing, grow something beautiful, but not have it become a nuisance after.
And I'll just add to that a little bit. If everyone recalls, when you come to the state of Hawaii, there's a form that you need to fill out on the airplane. And you need to indicate if you have any plants or seeds or fruits or vegetables and all this sort of thing. So that's another way for us to prevent these. Okay, this question's for you, James. Is there a lack of workers at the UH extension? And do you take interns? Have fun with that.
Don't get me started on this one. No, there is right now a real shortage. Unfortunately, we had just a sort of perfect storm with the pandemic and a lot of the folks who worked at the station aging out and retiring. So we're now down, at least on the Kauai station, to 2 workers per 260 acres. And that includes a herd of goats, all of the projects that the different researchers have. And so, we're all kind of pitching in. We do get some volunteer help. But we're hoping the university will open up some positions in the near future. I know there's been some discussion with the legislature as well. We do take interns. You can reach out to us. My email is jkeach, that's JKEACH, @hawaii.edu. We're happy to work with folks and come up with things. We don't always have funds, but we do sometimes have some set aside, and we love teaching people about plants.
Awesome.
Thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege working with such a great team, Dotty and James. We got a good Kauai team, so thank you guys for letting me be a part of that team. And thank you, James and Dotty, for joining us today. And you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you for your participation and for your knowledge and for the art of what you do.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Johnny.
Thank you, guys.
Aloha.
Thank you, Hitome. Aloha.
Aloha.